The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Theo Goodman from Haas Online,
Good evening, everyone.
Gabriel D. Vine from Future Rant,
That's Gabriel Divine, and thank you very much for having me.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail,
Thanks for having me.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1, Coinbase drama continues. Just weeks off of their IRS audit, Coinbase is being rocked again this week, facing dual lawsuits from their customers. One is suing the IRS, saying that their request is too broad. The other is far more serious, with claimants alleging that Coinbase processed more than $8 million in stolen funds from Cryptsy, allowing the founder to flee to China with a bag full of money. Theo Goodman, your thoughts on Coinbase's ongoing drama?
Well, it looks like this is just the beginning of it, unfortunately for them. I think the most damning one so far is this Cryptsy thing. This is really pretty damning. Now, I'm not a lawyer, disclaimer, but it doesn't look great. I mean, they asked, where'd you get it from? And he said, oh yeah, it's from Cryptsy and a little bit of my early mining stuff. But they didn't do anything. So they did ask, but it seems like they didn't take any action about, maybe saying, hey, that sounds a little bit shady. Could you give us some more information? It's Coinbase. They have to, go along with regulations, and they knew that. That's why they asked. But I've heard of people getting their accounts, canceled, them having a lot of trouble for a lot less, and giving much more detailed answers than what I think that I've seen so far out of this Cryptsy thing, and they've had a lot of trouble. So that part puzzles me a little bit, but it doesn't look like this is the end of the troubles for Cryptsy. It could even be just the beginning. Maybe there's some other cases brewing that we don't know about yet, or maybe some people see this one and are like, hey, I have another case too. So we don't know what's going on exactly with that. But yeah, let's see what they do. I'm not surprised in the sense that it's Coinbase. They're going along with regulations. This is what you get with that. Good, bad, or evil, that's up for you to decide. But if you use that service, then you can expect these kind of things to happen.
It was a lot of money, and Coinbase stood to make a substantial fee on the $8 million. Gabriel D. Vine.
Well, yeah, they were charging about 1%, so 8 million. What's that? 80,000? 8,000? 80,000. So I'm not surprised at all. I agree with Theo that if you choose to do business in the crypto space and wish to comply with government regulations, this is true for even just any tech company, but especially in the crypto space, and even more especially in the Bitcoin space, you will tend to run afoul of complicating factors like this. Not just being vulnerable to private individuals, legal actions, etc., but also your vulnerability to governments. So just as Ripple was fined hundreds of thousands of dollars because of some tiny, non-compliance with money transmittal, statutes of some type. All these businesses that are working to bridge the gap between the legacy financial infrastructure and Bitcoin are really putting themselves in a precarious position. And I would like to sound a clarion call to investors to very much watch out for companies on that edge to really do due diligence, make sure that they've done their research, that they've done their lawyering up in order to craft their business model and craft contracts in order to avoid many of these incredible complications, some of which are literally totally unavoidable. And I think this is one of those examples of unavoidable problems, and why I'm much more excited by decentralized projects than centralized companies, because they sidestep these issues. Government regulation, statutes, as well as laws will always be behind the curve. And the more time passes, the faster technology moves. In other words, it's not a constant rate of change. It's change. It's change between yesterday and today is less than the change between today and tomorrow. And because of that acceleration, legal ramifications will continue to fall more behind, not less. So the divide between practical laws that work for people in general and totally untenable bullshit will really grow hugely. And we're going to have a lot more untenable bullshit, and we're going to have a lot less functional technological laws as time goes on. And I think we're somewhat at a tipping point with Bitcoin over the last few years. So I think we're going to see a lot of issues like this. We're going to see a lot of centralized companies collapsing under the weight of regulation and the costs of doing business in the general, public infrastructure of legality that the government thinks it's providing us, but it's actually constraining us. And I think this is inevitable, and it's also going to be interesting to see our society and culture as well transition into more of a paradigm of caveat emptor, which we were actually chatting about before today's show, that eventually government won't be able to step in, and everyone's just going to have to learn to watch their back and do their research rather than just jump in with both feet and hope the government bails them out later.
Now, remember, Gabe, with the Ripple fine, many people saw it as a blessing, as that after they paid the fine, Ripple was good to go with their business. Do you think Coinbase is in a similar situation? After they've aligned themselves with the IRS, does business continue as usual? Or is there such a huge backlash against the privacy implications? Or do people just not care? What do you think on that?
As far as the backlash among the customers, you mean?
The customers, and I mean, just generally, presumably there's a slap on the wrist coming from the IRS. They set up this data link. They get all the data they want in the future. And then afterwards, there's a relationship, Coinbase and the IRS, and all the things that Tone has been saying, and we've all been saying about Coinbase being a KYC'd institution, a bank of Bitcoin. All of that becomes kind of entrenched. Do people say, after that, do they go, I don't like Coinbase, or are they just like, well, it's like a bank?
Yeah, I think that over the long haul, and this is not a year or two, I'm talking maybe 5 or more years, people will lose their trust in all such institutions, because all centralized institutions are honeypots in the age of leaks. We're in the cyber warfare age. We're in the cyber security age.
We had the Yahoo hack again, which may throw the sale off. Probably
Right.
should have been an issue this week, but we're busy. But yes, certainly a billion accounts hacked, and the Verizon deal is now very much in question. This is the second major hack for Yahoo in the last month or so, I think.
Right, and we're still in this sort of hangover period of the massive centralized companies and institutions, and it's going to take decades for us to really ride that whole thing out into a network society. So I think we're going to see some crypto will be one of the early spaces where the infeasibility of centralized institutions will become so obvious because of straight up hacks. So I think it's basically until Coinbase, and I think all of these centralized institutions will experience massive hacks. It's conceivable that they could get hacked so much that public attitude is irrelevant, because they all just become insolvent and go out of business.
It's been funny with the Yahoo hack. One of the comedy programs was highlighting how Yahoo is still warning their users about how not to get hacked, how you should have a good password, you should have 2FA. And you, the user, should do all these things. But how do you protect yourself if this centralized institution, which has all of your data, it itself gets hacked by something that you have just absolutely no control over? So it was really absurd. But I also wanted to say that I am impressed with the alleged balls on Big Vern from Cryptsy here, moving $8 million through Coinbase. I would never think of that. Just as if I was the Dread Pirate Roberts, I would never live in San Francisco, just a few blocks away from the people trying to bust me. But these are interesting coincidences of history. Tone Vase, what do you think about this exciting Coinbase news?
Well, just a quick comment on Yahoo. I have like multiple Yahoo accounts. I've had them since 2000.
My fantasy sports league is now in absolute jeopardy.
Not even 2000. I think I've had them since like 98 or something like that. It's been a while. And I'm so annoyed. Every other day I have to like click OK on their messages that you need to FA and you have to protect yourself. And I'm like, guys, I don't care. I don't have any Bitcoin associated with this. I don't care. You can hack me all you want.
I know. I've been refusing to give them my phone number for years, and now it looks like I'm on the right side of that one. So
right. No, they got my phone number from like one of my accounts because there was like a stretch of time where they literally would lock you out and you would not be able to get to your email. So I have like 3 email accounts with them, and I really needed one of them. And I had no choice but to give them my phone number. I was so like pissed. And I think like after like a month or two, they removed that policy and they allowed you to skip it. But there was like a stretch of time, maybe it was a week or whatever. I don't know how long that stretch of time was.
It must have been in the fantasy football and baseball off seasons.
they must have forced me to give them my phone number. Like Yahoo is just so frustrating. The only reason I have it is because I've had it since 98, and there are certain emails that I get from there that I just don't have a choice. You know how you can usually forward your emails to another account? I have at least one where I cannot do that with, and we're not going to talk about it. I think we've already discussed some of the things that I do that can't be undone. So I'm on some email lists that people don't know that I'm on them, so I can't like email them and say, hey, can you switch my email? So I have these situations where I'm literally stuck with Yahoo the rest of my life. Anyway, back to the real issue at hand, Coinbase. I'm ignoring some random guy suing the U.S. government. That never works unless it's like some kind of high-profile case, and this is not.
I do like his background, though. He's a class action lawyer. I mean, he seems like if you were going to organize a class, you want a guy like that. I mean,
wait, the one suing the IRS?
Yeah, the one suing the IRS. His background, I mean, I'm not sure like what level he's at, but he's a lawyer. He's a Coinbase customer, and he specializes in class action lawsuits. So if this was a way to start class action, maybe about them not warning people on the tax issue, I'm not sure which direction it would go, but.
No, I'm talking about the guy that's actually trying to sue IRS, not trying to sue Coinbase.
I'd have to look it up. I might be confused.
Right. No, yeah, I'm just saying the guy that's suing the IRS is irrelevant, right? The guy that's suing Coinbase, that's the one that I find very interesting, and that's awesome. And the fact that there's now 2 firms involved, and the fact that he's like urging people to join in this class action lawsuit against Coinbase. And I think they have a legitimate case here, and not just Paul Vernon. I think they have a legitimate case in that Coinbase didn't like help people with their taxes, didn't inform them enough, didn't provide their summaries. Like people weren't aware that every little transaction became relevant. And I'm not a Coinbase user. Maybe they were doing this, but I'm assuming that they weren't. Now, I love the idea of Cryptsy from the grave taking down Coinbase. Like, that is just so Bitcoin that I can't think of anything else like it.
And Cryptsy was always never funded, always in Florida, always kind of this altcoin exchange, and then everyone kind of saw Coinbase drifting into Cryptsy's business now with Ethereum and other altcoins that they're going to sell directly. It is an incredible irony.
You can't make up the ironies. Like now, literally, you're right. Coinbase is now becoming Cryptsy, being sued by former Cryptsy users.
If only there would be another Lucky 7 coin that Coinbase would add to their exchange, would lead to them getting hacked, Cryptsy style, allegedly, and it would all come full circle. Maybe Ethereum is the one, or the DAO.
Oh man, yeah, no, that really would. That would be awesome. But okay, so on that front, I see big issues for Coinbase, and look, they have a legitimate case. I mean, what else can I say? And Coinbase is going to be in serious trouble. I mean, it'll force the regulators to do. I see it's like a double-edged sword, right? So by them suing Coinbase over it, they're inviting more regulators in to put more pressure on Coinbase, to put more pressure on their users. Again, this is so Bitcoin, right? You're screaming for regulation that is going to come back and bite you in the butt, right? Dave is laughing now. Now, to something that Gabriel said, right? So Gabe, so you said this is why you're in support of more decentralized stuff. And I'm not sure that's a fair statement, because if this was decentralized, then Paul Verdon would have easily cashed everything out, right? Then there would be no chance at the lawsuit, right?
Right.
So again,
Perfect.
it's a double-edged sword. And it would probably be a little more inefficient. So the gorilla in the room is government and regulation. So if you're now going to yell at Coinbase for complying with regulation, but not complying with regulation enough, again, this is like a dog chasing its tail, right? I'm not sure what the end goal is, other than everyone just wants money and they don't care where it comes from, right? I mean, they just...
That's right. That's the correct conclusion.
So yeah, so I don't have much else to add. I will be watching this story. I hope someone keeps reporting on it and provides more feedback on it. I would love to see this go through court. That would be hilarious. And then like Paul Verdon would like call in from China through Skype and like be a witness. That would be great.
Even just the idea that you could move $8 million through Coinbase. I know people that you get a Coinbase account, you can't buy $50 worth of coins without putting in more identity these days. But it's mind-boggling that was even a plan or an idea, or he didn't go to local Bitcoins and meet some guy with a suitcase in an alley. But let's move on to the exit question.
Thomas, 8 million is hard to move. I mean, when you have an institution that trusts you, and remember, this was at the time, this is before Coinbase realized that Cryptsy was doing an exit scam. I mean, they had no idea.
Cryptsy looked so dirty from the beginning. I remember every time you traded there, it was like, will I get my coins out before the site shuts down? Every time it felt like.
All right, no, they might have looked dirty, right? But I mean, considering that Coinbase is now becoming Cryptsy, Coinbase might have been you've made $8 million on shitcoins? That sounds reasonable. We are going into this business. That doesn't seem shady at all, you know?
It's going to be great in the movie version of this. You see Brian and his partners, and they're like, the Cryptsy guy has $8 million. Go ahead and process it. Figure out how.
By the way, it's very. Here's another irony again, which is totally Bitcoin. Someone at the Cryptsy office, like Brian or whatever, they're sitting there, and then Paul Verne is like, "Hey, so I'm thinking of cashing out my profits from Cryptsy. We've made $8 million over the last 2 years," and then they're all sitting there in their boardroom. That's a good, like, they have no idea that Paul Verne is exit scamming, right? So they think those are like the profits over like a year and a half or something with like very little overhead. And they're like, yo, no, we should get into this business, right? So while Paul Verne is exit scamming, they're changing their entire deck to now become Cryptsy. And then like Paul takes the money and disappears, and now he just gave them the exit plan, and now they're like, oh shit, that was an exit scam. That wasn't like the profits.
Spoiler, Coinbase exit scam in the future. No one wants that. Got some funds in there myself. But let's move on to the next issue with exit question. The drama will subside and Coinbase will endure. Yes or no? Theo Goodman.
Coinbase will endure. They have a lot of lawyer power and they're very creative in figuring out how to comply and how to get everything done right. And if it comes down to it and they're losing money and they're down for the count before the technical knockout, then they can always just follow another example. Instead of BFX tokens, you can just make Coinbase tokens. And there you go. The prophecy of becoming Cryptsy is a little bit closer.
If only everyone could sell fee shares. Gabriel, Devon.
I think Coinbase will go out of business in 2021.
5 years. Tone Vase.
I'll take the under on that, Gabriel. I'll take the under. I don't think they're lasting that long. I don't know how much money they have, but lawyers are expensive, and
getting sued is expensive.
Yeah, now they have to comply with IRS. They're going to lose users over this. They're in San Francisco. I mean, the Uno Coin is doing what they're doing out of India with apparently much better developers, and at like 2% of the costs of what Coinbase is spending. No, I think they're done. I don't think they're going to get another round of funding. I don't see how they're going to survive. I'll take the under on 2021.
The fancy office in the sky in FIDI. The answer is they'll last until the money runs out. Until the money runs out. Moving on to issue 2. Issue 2. OpenBazaar raises $3 million. The decentralized marketplace OpenBazaar raised an additional round of funding this week from major players such as Blue Yard Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, and Union Square Ventures. The marketplace, which started as dark market and was seen as a potential distributed Silk Road, has transformed itself into a distributed eBay without fees. A truly flat marketplace free of influence? Gabriel, Devon, will they achieve their dreams? Will OpenBazaar fundamentally transform the market structure of commerce?
I think the answer is yes, believe it or not. I really like this new hybrid business model that's been kind of percolating for a few years now, where a private company decides to create or contribute to, or in the case of OpenBazaar, sort of rework a very sketchy existing project, and it created an open, permissionless, open source platform, and spend a lot of their time creating this platform with the hope of, in the future, it's a little risky, but with the hope in the future of providing value-add services on top of that. So the idea is the platform will actually provide most of the value to users, but for the actual company, it makes more sense to for the profit model to piggyback off of services that are offered on top of that platform. Two other big names to mention in that paradigm are MadeSafe and Blockstream. MadeSafe has its own interesting platform that they've been working hard on. It's very promising in my opinion, and I don't know when it's going to go live. Hopefully next year sometime. They'll have their own proof of resource cryptocurrency that will be an interesting alternative to Bitcoin. And then Blockstream, of course, works on Bitcoin. And I'm assuming their business model is also, hey, you need a special crazy plugin to work in, for your browser, or for your client, rather, for your wallet client. You want us to make a special thing, or you want us to, flesh out something that's not existing in the protocol, and you want it for your business. Well, you can kick down and fund that development, and then everybody will be able to use it. Everybody wins. You get to use it, first. And so it's really interesting. I think it may prove to be functional and profitable for these businesses. I think OB1 took a conservative path, and that was a smart business decision, as opposed to leaving the name dark market. They changed it because, of course, OB1, the company, will be releasing version 2 of OpenBazaar, and at that point, it will support Tor and onion routing as built in. And at that point, OpenBazaar will replace all of the existing centralized illegal darknet markets, and that will be a huge use case for this system that they probably won't be able to capitalize on a business level, but it will still like push the system and actually be robust for the platform, because there will be that many more users, and everybody using it will then see all those things on the platform. And I don't believe that OB1 will have any ability to censor listings or users or anybody else. So it should be quite interesting to see what happens when version 2 comes out. But they were very smart in being conservative with their version 1 and not supporting that, and just getting a little bit of attention and getting and ironing out all the wrinkles and really making a functional system, which it appears to me they've definitely got in hand with the current versions of OpenBazaar. So I think congratulations to them for convincing some other people to buy into their vision of the company, and I wish them all the best. I think it's really awesome, and I do think that eventually it will replace eBay. It's going to take a few more years.
As you've laid it out there, Gabe, I think it's an incredibly clever plan to roll out their strategy in that way, and to build the tools of commerce that can be used both for the dark markets and for the replacement no-fee eBay. I think it's a very interesting idea to try to. eBay made all of its money off of fees in the marketplace. OpenBazaar wants to make its money off of, like you say, value-added services. The way I look at it, the main problems with OpenBazaar, you have to download an application, and to my knowledge, you have to run the application at all times to keep your store online. I know there's probably hosted stores like that. Things like that, I think, are the kind of value that OpenBazaar, the company, will add, as well as other people offering hosted stores. And then once they plug and get rid of the download and put that in the browser, I think they reduce the barriers there, because right now those are barriers. But it could be very interesting, and I do congratulate them on the new round, and especially for being able, as Gabe said, because when they first raised the round, we said, okay, Andreessen Horowitz is kind of investing in an FU to the people on this dark market thing. They were like, well, we kind of don't like the drug war. We want to say FU, but now it's changed. It's become more of this eBay thing, FU to eBay. But at the same time, like Gabe said, the tools are there. They're open source, and who knows what people will use them for. Theo Goodman, are you ready with your comments?
I'm ready. OB1, you're our only hope. I think that it's a cool project. Let's see where it goes, and if the next one has Tor and onion routing, that's an interesting development. I think the best part is that a lot of the stuff is going to be open source, so anyone can use it. You could fork it and use it for things. There's still a lot to these illegal marketplaces. For example, escrow and message boards and other things. I guess that could also be somehow added into the OpenBazaar client at some point, and somehow, or maybe you could build one with it, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you could, but that's a lot of the stuff that these marketplaces have too, in addition to just being a kind of eBay for whatever you want. So I do know that there are people trying to use OpenBazaar. I know that it's not super active right now, but it's a cool project, and I'm glad that it's open source so people can use it. And I don't know how they're going to make money, but let's see if they can make money somehow.
I agree with Theo. A lot of the strong points of this system are the distributed moderation system, even though that's complicated to build, and the distributed reputation system, even though that's complicated to build. So if they can pull off either one of those by separating them from the dark marketplace, but still having a place where you could keep tally on your dark marketplace seller, agnostic, you don't have to know what they sold to judge that they're a good seller. Tone Vase, your thoughts on OpenBazaar?
All right, so I'll start with, I don't consider OpenBazaar a scam, which is probably saying a lot.
Shocking from Tone. Headlines.
They didn't tokenize. They're using Bitcoin. They're trying to do this decentralized marketplace. And Brian Hoffman, I don't have a problem with Brian Hoffman. He's still against tokenization, so hopefully he can keep that up. My questions on OpenBazaar are just, I've never used it. I'm not sure why I would use it. Like, I don't even use eBay anymore these days, right? Also, everything I see on eBay, I don't see like individual sellers on eBay anymore. All I see is stores. All I see is stores. It's not like eBay was in its first 3 to 5 years, right? When it was literally auction. I always go to Amazon. Everything I need, the cheapest prices, 90% of the time, the cheapest price is always on Amazon. Occasionally, like if I need a piece of electronic, it's on like Buy Big or Newegg, and most of the time I don't even buy it. I just love the convenience. Amazon has all my information. They have my credit card. I just go and buy it from them whenever I need something and it's on sale, and it's very simple. So my only issues with OpenBazaar, I'm not sure how they're going to get the what am I looking for? The momentum and you know what I mean, right? Critical mass. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, especially if they're focusing on. I mean, they're focusing on legitimate markets, but I don't think can they control if someone is using it as like an illicit, like a Silk Road kind of store. Can someone?
I think it's the kind of thing where they could control it through their official client or through their website. But you could just go to the OpenBazaar servers or whatever and download whatever you want. And I think you could run an OpenBazaar server and you could host whatever transactions you want. And then, from there, I don't know where it goes.
You know what? I mean, maybe I don't see OpenBazaar being useful at all until Bitcoin becomes the mainstream currency, right? And we're years away from that, right? So if
But this is the chicken and the egg. We need a marketplace like OpenBazaar or something where people are trading Bitcoin to make it a mainstream currency, right? I mean, we need Silk Road or we need something like this.
Right, but again, right, if Amazon and eBay start accepting Bitcoin, that becomes the same thing. I mean, now OpenBazaar is competing with Amazon and eBay on fees. But because of those fees by Amazon and eBay that they're collecting, they're able to provide all these services to you, right? What do you call them? Like customer service and account, not retribution. Again, I don't know. It's been a long day. Mediation in case something goes wrong, and all this stuff. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure there's a business there, and I understand they're doing it for the people, and that might last. And at the moment, it's still a little complicated. You got to host your own store. You got to download stuff. But it's hard for me to comment on this. I've never been an eBay seller. I've only been an eBay buyer. I've never been an Amazon seller. I think I've only returned like one or two things ever to Amazon, and it's always like a pain. Like if I'm buying anything on Amazon that's more than like $25 worth of an item, I make sure it's going to be something that I'm probably not going to return. It just happened to me. I went cheap and I bought, what do you call them? Like an extension for your USB sticks. It's like, the USB thing that turns one USB port into like 4. I needed 4 wasn't enough for me. I needed an extension for 8 of them. I decided to go cheap and bought one for $9 instead of buying one for $27. So obviously it doesn't work. Like it came from China. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to return it. My fault. I'm an idiot. I bought something worth $9 when I know the real value of it is $25. And this is why it came to my house and it doesn't work. I'm not going to go through a trouble of returning the damn thing.
All right, well, pro tip, Tone, Amazon's so good, sometimes they'll just give you the money back without making you return it.
I don't know. We'll see. So I'm very... I don't have anything bad to say about OpenBazaar, but I don't have anything good to say about it either. I'm like totally neutral on it. I'll be like the last person to use it, so I'll just wait and see what happens. So if I have to put on it, I don't give them. I don't think they're going to survive. I just don't. I don't think the world really needs them yet. And can they last 10 years until the world maybe needs them? I have no idea.
I like the way they're set up to survive. I like the open source aspect. I like the server aspect. As Gabe was saying, darknet people could adopt this software as their own. They could make their own marketplaces. Kind of as we speculated that after the Bitcoin reward dies off, it might be worth malware authors might continue to mine Bitcoin so they could continue to get paid for ransomware.
They wouldn't be making. They wouldn't be making their own marketplaces. They would be vendors just like anybody else, selling their boxes and perfumes and whatever.
One last comment. So let me tell you the worst possible thing, right? The worst possible thing, especially since they just got money from A16Z. I think that's Anderson Horowitz, right? That's where they got money from. And I think it's the same company that's doing this ICO fund they're putting together. So if OpenBazaar is forced to tokenize, that would be the equivalent of in 2000, Amazon and eBay forcing people to go out and buy Amazon stock to then use Amazon stock to buy things from Amazon.
Well, and I think because they got the $1 million already, they didn't have to tokenize. And then now, I mean, honestly, I'm a little surprised that they got the additional 3 million. But as you said, Tone, they now don't have to tokenize. I could see a world very much where you have to buy OpenBazaar coin, and you have to put OpenBazaar coin in your wallet to have your store run, and you have to pay for all your purchases. And it's this additional layer, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that
but the reason to put the additional layer is so they can own the coin and print a bunch of them and sell them, which if they're getting regular venture capital, they don't have to. So I would say a few more years of no tokenization for OpenBazaar ahead.
All right, just a few points on that real quick. So I think that's this idea of creating a coin to run the thing. So OpenBazaar creating a coin and then forcing people to use that coin to buy stuff. That's the same as Netflix forcing you to buy their stock, only to then use this stock to purchase movies one at a time. So this is the model that all of the ICOs are pitching. This is the Ethereum model, and this is all the other ICO models, which I think is insane. The other thing, look, 3 million? That's not a lot of money. I mean, don't forget, freaking the 21 guys got 100 million or whatever, right? Coinbase got 100 million.
But I mean, these are plugged in.
We're going crazy.
This is a shocking little dark markets getting 3 million.
Yeah, I know, but look, considering how much these other companies got that are going to fail, and we know they are going to fail, and they got 100 million, and we're going crazy that they just got 3 million. Come on, that's not going to last.
It's about how you spend the money. I think you could spend it in a year if you were in a hurry, or you could spend it in 3 years if you want to go slow. We'll see how it goes. Moving on to the next issue. As I load the screen share. Issue 3. The war on cash. Australia is floating the idea of removing the $100 note this week, allegedly to fight illegal activities and tax evasion. Europe is phasing out the 500. India recently removed the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. As we discuss in our next story, Venezuela is also removing the 100. Will this spread to America? Is it good for Bitcoin? Tone Vase.
Hey, can we combine those two stories? I know it's
we kind of will and we do, but go ahead. You can talk about the money aspect, and then we'll just talk about Venezuela in general for the fourth one.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. So the money aspect. So we knew this was coming, and I've written about this for a while. This was obvious. Governments don't like cash. I repeat the same thing on the show, but there's always new listeners, so I'll repeat it again. There are 3 reasons the government wants to eliminate cash, and it has absolutely nothing to do with terrorism. So the first reason is the government wants to have full control of monetary policy. They want to be able to set any kind of interest rate that they like, and you can't do negative interest rates without with having physical currency, right? So they can literally slowly take away your money while it's sitting at the bank because it's only at the bank. The second reason the government wants to eliminate your currency is there can't be a bank run. You are eliminating a bank run because there is no bank to go to withdraw your physical dollars. So the possibility of a bank run and everyone rushing into the bank, it disappears. The pictures of people standing in lines at ATM machines to withdraw $20 or 20 euros, like what happened in Greece, the pictures in Greece were the same as the pictures of the Great Depression. That visual aspect of it also disappears. And the final reason, and the most important reason, is because in the eyes of the government, everyone's a tax evader, right? And they think that the reason why the governments have not solved all of our problems is because we are all tax cheats and none of us are paying our taxes. Now, let me quickly share my screen. That's pretty much all I have to say. I just want to share my screen and point to one part of that article. So yeah, the funny thing is, I'm reading this article and I'm like, what country is this, right? Because nowhere in the article it talks about what country, and it has the dollar symbol in front of the 100. So then I have to go look at the URL and it's AU. So I'm like, oh, Australia. Okay. So here's the crazy part, and I'm going to highlight this. You guys see my screen, right? The cash economy is worth 1.5% of GDP, which is about $21 billion. So this insanity by the governments to overhaul and cause havoc with cash is all about 1.5% of GDP. And it's not even just 1.5%. The cash economy is 1.5%. So this cash economy is not going to go away, but the taxes on this 1.5%. So now we're talking maybe 0.5% if they tax you at 33%. That's what they're screaming about. That's what they're all hollering about, which is, to me, is insane. This is the part that the government thinks is preventing them from creating utopia. 0.5% of GDP, and that's insane.
All right, Theo Goodman.
Yes, it's good for Bitcoin. All these articles of the government is going to ban all kinds of cash and everything. That's great for Bitcoin. People freak out, they FOMO buy, and they think that it's, they're really going to do it. Really, they're just floating around the idea of the 100. But I mean, it'll probably come with time for a lot of the reasons Tone is saying. I mean, here with the 500 in Europe, that'll get phased out eventually. But I think they're going to have a lot harder time with the rest of them because people still use 150 on a daily basis. But, it could come with time. People are going to have to get used to it. And depending on the country, it's going to be how willing the people are going to be giving it up. I think in India, I don't know how well it's going. But we'll see. Anytime you have all the pictures of long lines of people in front of banks, that always gets people really excited for Bitcoin. Doesn't matter if the government's really even doing anything. It's just the perception, just those nice pictures. Anytime you get all these articles about government banning stuff, dealing with cash, people usually perceive that as really good for Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin's going to solve all the problems that are associated with that. And so that's very positive.
It is a great selling point for Bitcoin that if you put some in a paper wallet and put it on a shelf and come back a few years later, the same number of Bitcoin will still be there. Gabriel D. Vaughn.
Well, that's true with dollars too. I got the same number of dollars in my piggy bank, right? But purchasing power is a different thing.
But not if they make the dollars no good and they're just not valuable. I mean, they're basically invalidating.
Right. It's the same number of dollars, but their value has changed to zero. I was
shocked to zero.
Right. I was just about to say shocked. You read my mind. I was shocked to read this article. To find out about the issue right before I read it. I was, looking at what's happened in Venezuela, which is a basket case, India, which wasn't a basket case and was turned into one due to a cash ban. that was these cash bans. They're so fast. In the past, when even in France, I think in the 60s when they did a cash ban, I think they gave them months and months to do it. And you know, it's one thing if you're trying to change the paradigm a little bit, replacing bills. You know, you give lots of leeway. This was an obvious banking wealth grab of just the most epic evil proportions in India. Unbelievable.
Especially the Indian situation, because really we're talking about $10 and $20 bills. We aren't talking about, it says 500 rupees, but that's $10. And
Right.
they're reprinting these bills. I mean, I didn't say in the intro because it's too long, but they're reprinting these bills. So really, like you're saying, Gabe, they are pretty much directly stealing from anyone that didn't hear about the cash being written off.
Right, and they gave them like 6 weeks, and then the 72 hours in Venezuela. It's
usually obvious. Years. This is a standard of years.
Right, and Venezuela 72 hours is just an obvious evil wealth grab that is.
Well, totally and they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, right? They're seeing this as an economic solution to reduce the cash options, which they think cuts off the black market. But as I said, the problem, like you go from buying a hamburger. Or well, it's in the next story, but you know, hamburger, it goes from 25 bills to 250 bills. It's that kind of, you can't buy anything anymore.
Yeah, it's insane.
All right, I'll play devil's advocate for a minute here, right? Because honestly, like here in the U.S., I don't know about you guys, I almost never use $100 bills. I always take out $100 bills, but I always need to break that $100 bill somewhere, and then I always use 20s. Many places don't accept $100 bills. A lot of businesses actually, they just don't have that much cash because most people don't use the cash. So in reality of the situation, people don't really use that much cash, and a lot of time, I can definitely see it from the point of the government. The problem is that a lot of people, and they also treat like cash users as criminals already, right? So in a way, they can be like kind of protecting people from themselves, because if I have a business, and I do have a business, and less people are using cash in the business that are coming through the door, and I was always nervous about reporting the cash, because when you start reporting the cash, now there's suspicion that your business is doing something shady, because why would all these people come in and pay with cash? So again, it's like another double-edged sword. So that's why I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit.
When I think about it, Tony, really, I see the government's perspective. When I think about when have I used $100 bills? Well, sometimes to pay rent, you'd use a $100 bill for a large purchase. And generally, I'd say to buy a car or a scooter or a TV or a bicycle, anything that's kind of expensive, you might end up using $100 bills, which the government's point would be you're avoiding taxes in those situations. If you go to Best Buy and buy a computer, you're probably going to charge it. You're probably not going to pay in $100 bills unless you buy the computer off of Craigslist, which again, they're cutting off commerce, reducing us to a barter system, perhaps. But really they're just making it inconvenient. You have to count out like 120s all the time. I don't know.
I honestly think that peer-to-peer markets for like cars and whatever, they're not that big. They're not that big. I mean, you're usually buying a car from a reputable shop, and yes, you can walk in there with a suitcase of $100 bills, but now it's a Coinbase situation. They have to report it on their end, or they're committing a crime, right? So I don't see people buying cars with $100 bills unless they can account for those bills. It's very difficult to clean the cash, right? So it's like, so the government thinks that like everyone's a criminal, but in reality, it's only like the small time people that have this cash. Because if you're a big time person with cash, you got your own problems on how to clean it. By the way, what I forgot to mention is this is lovely for Bitcoin. I love this. I now, like, I used to scream like it's so bad that government is eliminating cash. Now I'm like, please eliminate all the cash, like all the bills, like eliminate them. Eliminate the $100 bill, the $50 bill, eliminate the $20 bill, for God's sakes. Keep us on like just ones, fives, and tens, right? That would be good. I mean, the Bitcoin will go absolutely through the roof. So I'm all for governments eliminating cash.
I'm long wheelbarrows. I'm ready to see people in New York with the wheelbarrows or ones and
Yeah.
fives going down to do stuff.
I'd like to announce Theo's and my wheelbarrow company will be launching in 7 cities to start. I was really so Tone. You know, it's to come back to what I was saying. The thing that really shocked me of these past ones was the speed of it. Just the sheer speed is so unfair. It's one thing if you say, okay, well, we don't need these big bills, which I don't agree with that actually. But even if you do, the speed of that is just an obvious wealth grab.
I'm not surprised. I mean, once one country comes up with a dumb idea, and Larry Summers is responsible for a lot of them. When one country comes up with a dumb economic idea, it's like a herd. It's like a herd of cows. It's absolutely amazing.
But I wasn't expecting Australia as the next battleground for cash.
Dude, come on. I've already referred to the Australian tax authority as like the only tax authority that's more ruthless than the U.S. tax authority.
Yeah.
I think that we've cleared that on the show. I think my impression of the Australian tax authorities, and I've never been to Australia, is that they're all armed SWAT agents. And we all learned this because the day after Stephen Wright was speculated to be Satoshi, it was the tax authorities that raided his house with automatic machine guns, right?
Right. Yeah, Craig Wright. Stephen Wright, on the other hand, is a very interesting comedian who would certainly have some interesting things to say about this.
Craig Wright. I don't know why I keep thinking Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright is, you know, I bought some powdered water. I didn't know what to add.
That's the dry.
He's the most dry, which is a great point because
I so wanted to think of one of his lines, but I couldn't.
That's the one. That's my favorite. I bought some powdered water. I didn't know what to add. Anyway, so Australia is authoritarian, but it's a first world country. I didn't think they were going to try something like this, but they haven't, of course, announced it either. But I am getting a feeling of extreme urgency from governments all over the world lately, except for maybe China and Russia. The other governments seem to be really, especially Western governments right now, seem to be panicking in general that they're losing their grip on world domination, I guess you could say.
No. Interest rates. They're scared that interest rates are rising
suddenly,
and it's going to blow their debt. So
their debt bomb is the fuse is lit on the debt bomb.
Right. So it's the current politicians don't want to be the ones responsible for the blow up of their debts. So now this is like their best measure to get tax revenue in while they're still in office, and then it's the next guy's problem of the economy collapsing because now it's like a one-time shot. It's like a heroin shot. You get rid of this currency, you get all these supposed, I guess, I'm sure there are criminals. Look, I'm not going to deny that, right? So they're all going to turn this money in. If all of a sudden there's like this one-time shock to the system where there's less cash in the system, or they collect more taxes, but then people will find another way to evade those taxes, or the economy slows down because of high taxes. I mean, this is I know people always like accuse me of like stealing stuff from Bitcoin Uncensored guys, but this is the one issue I fully disagree with them on. The higher the taxes in your country, the slower your economic growth over the next 10 years. This is the issue I argue with them on. And if this is a de facto tax increase, then over the next 10 years, your productivity of your country and of your people is going to go down. But the current politicians aren't going to be the one responsible for it. It will be the ones that are bearing the brunt of it 10 years down the line.
I would say I'm not that surprised that it was Australia. I don't know much about Australia, but I have been watching the recent Juice Wrap News videos, and they seem to have a similar Donald Trump-esque politician that took over Australia, kind of a similar Brexit situation and anti-immigrant type feeling going on. So it's not completely out of left field to see them try this cash ban. Any more on this issue? You guys want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's not just a way to grab some tax income, in the view of pending bond and debt, but it's also not only also a wealth grab, but it's also a surveillance and control thing. They want to push all those transactions into electronic networks that they control completely and have total transparency on. waiting for the electronic payment to build up before they pulled this stuff. Unfortunately for them, Bitcoin was also during that time, and none of this stuff is going to work. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot, and all of that commerce is going to push into crypto over the next few years.
Excellent prediction, Gabe. And we will continue to cover the war on cash. Just a reminder, and the second beast required all people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, the name of the beast or the number of its name. Revelations 13:17. Moving on to issue 4. Issue 4. Venezuela, the perfect storm. Venezuela is removing the 100 bolivar note, as we discussed earlier, claiming the country's enormous black market is causing its remarkable inflation rate of 500%. Removing the note, they say, will allow them to crack down on criminal gangs. It already takes more than 50 of the 100 bolivar notes to buy a single McDonald's hamburger. The removal of the note means that peasants will have to carry around more than 250 bills to purchase the same hamburger. Meanwhile, Bitcoin continues to be bandied about as an option, with a tiny minority already turning into the fledgling digital currency. Theo Goodman, is this the moment? Is Bitcoin beginning to reach a tipping point in Venezuela?
Maybe. Another interesting side note is that the Venezuelan miners are coming under greater scrutiny from the authorities. And from what I understand, it's all about payoffs for the cops, corruption, and that. It's not really about cracking down on the miners per se. It's about cops catching on that there's some kind of value there, and they're like, hey, let's just hunt these guys down. Let's do a kick door. We're going to do a kick door. Kick door is it's just when you just invade, and let's get let's scare these nerds, and let's see what they got, And I think that there's probably a lot of that, and that's only what I'm just getting this from what's being reported and what I'm hearing about. There's probably a lot more going on that we don't even know about. So playing a part of it, and if the cops know Bitcoin has value and they start wanting it, then it goes into wildfire. Then you got the public that wants Bitcoin because they don't want to have to use a wheelbarrow to go get a McDonald's hamburger, and then you got the cops that want it because that's the only thing that's really worth anything is not what they're getting paid in, and you got everyone wanting Bitcoin. So to me, that's actually a really bullish sign for Bitcoin. If the corrupt cops want to get paid in Bitcoin, then that's pretty bullish.
The article also outlines how, once again, knowing about Bitcoin is kind of a superpower. There's a guy in the article, he needs to pay for his mother's cancer treatment. So because of this, he learned about Bitcoin, which he used to send overseas to pay for the treatment. Because he knew about Bitcoin, he could hedge some of his money in Bitcoin and avoid the disaster of their currency. And now he's in a better financial situation because of his knowledge, because of something he heard about, something he studied, something that he needed for his situation. But it's turned out great for him in the future, and that's exciting to see that. Gabriel D. Vine.
I think that it is a bullish sign. I love Theo's point about the bribes. I think that's a really great sign of the knee of the curve, of exponential adoption, when bureaucrats and law enforcers begin to lust after an asset. That you're really changing a paradigm. And to look at the numbers in the article, 2 years, 1000x, right? Or maybe it's 100x users in 2 years. That's pretty good. And another 100x from there, and you've got 8 million. So that's something around the population of Venezuela. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see usage in the millions in the next 2 years. We really need SegWit. We really need Lightning Network in order to make this a medium of exchange as well. But as many people have been discussing recently, a storage of value is the first use case of a new money. You have to have that, or else you can't use it as a medium of exchange. And I could see that, you know, Venezuelans certainly are using Bitcoin as a store of value and as a medium of exchange as well. So I think this is, it's still early days, still very early days. It's, you know, we've got some usage going now, and all the charts do look exponential for usage, but that still means that there's, you know, a long road ahead. We have some technical hurdles.
Especially when you look at the chart of local Bitcoin's transactions. It's an incredible, just left to right, we're just going up. And that's something not like Coinbase accounts or blockchain.info wallets, where you could say someone has many wallets. It's not as important. Actual transactions are actual transactions, and the more the merrier. Tone Vase. Still muted and moving in slow motion.
Yeah, no. I was typing. I was talking to Rodrigo actually from Rodrigo is the main content of what's going on in Venezuela and Brazil. I know him from our days at the Bitcoin Center. So maybe I'll try and get an interview or something. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. All right. So just like India, I am very frustrated with reporting. So I'm going to pull up this article, and we're going to go through it. So I don't see you guys on camera, but who's read this article? Thomas, you read it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Parts of it.
Okay. Gabriel, Theo, did you guys read this article? The one that Thomas pointed to?
I only skimmed it. I didn't have time to read it before the show.
Okay. So here's the problem with these articles, right? So I'm going to highlight this part right here. This week, Venezuelans rushed to unload 100 bolivar bills, the largest denomination, after government announced that it would be withdrawn from circulation on Wednesday. And people are given like 72 hours to turn these in. So this is the India situation. And then this article goes on and talks about Bitcoin. Here's what the article doesn't talk about, which exactly like India, and I find this incredibly frustrating. They talked about how, oh, you need like 50 of these $100 bills to go buy a McDonald's burger. That's where this information comes from, right here. I clicked on the link because I learned from the India thing. These things aren't as clear cut. You need 50 $100 bolivars to go buy a McDonald's hamburger. So they're removing the $100 bolivar, but they're replacing it with a $20,000 bill in bolivars.
Not dollars. There's no dollars involved in their money.
20,000 bolivars, right? Sorry, I forget I said dollars at all, right? So you can bring in 20 of these 100 bolivars, $20,000 bolivar. So are they actually getting rid of cash? Or are they creating bigger bills? Okay, so these are the parts of these stories that people aren't saying. Now, here's the problem, right? Again, right? So I just made a case that they're creating more cash than less cash. But here's the problem. The problem is that they're only giving people 72 hours to do it. And apparently, I'm not sure they actually have these $20,000 bolivar notes, because people are taking their $100 bills, they're bringing them to the bank because they have 72 hours to turn them in, and then they go to the ATM machine to take out money, and they're given $100 bills again.
I mean, let's read between the lines here, Tone. This is a move against large-scale drug dealers or people with a large pile of cash. I know it's an old cliched reference, but I just watched Breaking Bad, and he's got cash in the walls. He's got piles and piles of cash. Think about if you had to get rid of it in 72 hours. There's no way. I mean, you give it to everyone you know. They change it in. It's just impossible. That's what I think. That's what they're doing.
I understand. I understand all of that, right? But what I'm saying is these are all one-time things to either distract your population so that they're not doing whatever and try to like curtail this one-time shot. But if they're actually going to put in $20,000 denominated bills, then they're going to make the situation worse. I mean, I understand that a $20,000 bill is only worth about $4 US.
Bolivar.
Well, I'm just saying bill, right? $20,000 bill in their currency.
No, 20,000 Bolivar bill.
Well, sure. Jesus. All right, 20,000 Bolivar bill. Yes. God, imagine if there was a $20,000 US dollar bill. But
well, but again, we're talking about Weimar Germany, and that's how you get the wheelbarrows as you upping the notes. I mean, this has been done before.
Right, but you have to separate this situation in Venezuela and what's happening in Australia. See, in Australia, they're going to remove the $100 note, and they're going to replace it with nothing, right? They're going to remove the 100, and then the 50 becomes your biggest one. Removing the 100, and the 50 is not going to become the biggest one. They're introducing a $20,000 Bolivar bill. Now, the problem is that I don't know if they had them pre-printed or not. Like in India, they were removing the 1,000 and replacing it with a 2,000, but there weren't that many 2,000s, right? So we can have a different discussion, but people need to like click on links within articles to get the real understanding of the story. And I think that the Bitcoin media is doing a terrible job of this, because nowhere in that article was this part stated. And honestly, this part is very, very important for people to really understand what the hell is going on. It frustrates me, and I learned from the India situation, and that's what I always look for. Now in Europe, they're removing the 500, and they're not replacing it with the 1,000. They're just removing the 500. So these are slightly different things. I just wanted to point this out. I said before, people are turning in these $100 notes, Bolivar notes. They are, taking the chances that they're not going to be called a criminal, pay some taxes on those. But the problem is now they need cash again, because it's a cash economy. They go to the ATM and they're given hundreds again, right? So that's the kind of retarded part of the situation. But I just wanted to point that out, okay? And also the removal of the Euro notes and of the Aussie notes and potentially US notes. That's way more important, important to the Bitcoin economy than what Venezuela and India is doing. I'm more focused on the cancellation of bills in first world countries where people have retirement savings versus, communist countries where the government pretty much owns everything, or a country like India where the average person in India probably has less money to their name than what you have under your couch, right? So it's, or if you just sold the furniture in your apartment, or any one of us on this channel. So that's all I really wanted to point out.
So there is a war on cash, but it's different in developing countries versus the developed world. Any more on this issue, Gabe or Theo? All right, let's move on to predictions or story of the week. Theo Goodman, I know you were talking about this before the show. You're very ready with a prediction or a story of the week.
I'm the opposite. I was just reminding you, I was projecting my unreadiness on everyone else in the group in order to distract you. I just want to point out that
fight, Theo. Tell us about the UFC 117850
in Sacramento.
Sacramento,
okay,
woo, Sacramento.
Yes. Okay, all right, great. Yeah, story of the week is UFC Sacramento tomorrow, and you can check out my picks over at dgenbet.com, where I've made my three main picks for the UFC Fight Night Sacramento. And I think my most confident pick, we'll see if we can come back to this video and see if I was right, is that Mickey Gall is going to beat Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt is this guy. It kind of looks like a cross between the Karate Kid and a guy from Street Fighter, the video game. And UFC is really trying to hype him. And Mickey Gall is this kind of normal guy, and he just beat CM Punk at the UFC. So it's going to be it's a good hype event here for UFC. And my prediction is Mickey Gall destroys Sage Northcutt.
I always root for the guy named Hunt, but I just like Sacramento to be mentioned in the news. Gabriel Devine, are you ready with a story of the week or a prediction?
I sure am. I have a story this week. A friend of mine, very good friend of mine, was complaining that the exchanges, are asking for his personal information. He felt that that his personal information would not be safe with these institutions like Coinbase and Kraken, American brokerage and exchange houses that hold this data and could easily leak it. He doesn't feel safe. He doesn't feel that it's fair or necessary. And so he asked me, hey, what are my other options? I said, there's local Bitcoins. You have to do it in person, though. Maybe bring a firearm or something. He said, that doesn't sound too great. I said, well, you can always try BitSquare. He said, what's that? BitSquare is a decentralized exchange open source piece of software. You run it on your desktop. You throw up your offer or bid. And as long as your machine's on, anybody can see it over the internet. And the way that it works is they, as they're updating and adding features and fixing bugs, they also introduce support for various digital, fiat exchange options. And so I said, hey, man, throw up a couple. He wanted to sell, 1 Bitcoin. And I said, hey, throw up a couple of offers. And so he did. And he's been using it. And it works. I was really stoked about that. Does he have to
go meet them in person after he gets the offer?
No, he's he's tried a couple of different things. I believe he's using Clear Exchange, which is a US money transmittal platform. It's not easy. All of the ones that they support are very difficult to, if not impossible.
Is it like a wire or an irreversible wire or something like that?
Kinda, yeah. It's basically like a much less reversible ACH, and basically all the different banks sort of implement it in different ways. But that one seems to be the smoothest because he got a couple he did a couple of offers that were deposit cash, or whatever deposit where people go to the bank, and those tend to be really slow and kind of a little bit sketchier. Whereas the Clear Exchange was literally 20 minutes that it took to receive it in his bank account. So that's a much faster service. In any case, I don't necessarily recommend Clear Exchange, but BitSquare itself does work. One of his offers did experience a big hiccup when something went wrong with the with the fee on the Bitcoin transaction, where it was too low because there's been a lot of congestion recently. The transaction kind of tripped it up, and there was some little bug in the platform that they need to fix. But he was able to get one of the developers, which is not even a service, it's a decentralized open source platform, but he was able to get one of the people to help him with it, and everything came out great. So he's got 100% track record. I believe he's sold a few Bitcoin in like 5 transactions, and he says it works awesome. So everyone go out there, download BitSquare, give it a shot, try to buy or sell some Bitcoin through that. Find the most dependable fiat option and go for it. It's working. It's out there. It's doing it. Follow them on Twitter. Check it out, BitSquare.
Sounds like an interesting option. Tone Vase.
All right, just one slight update. So after I said my spiel about the articles not clarifying the process of the currency, I've been informed that even though the government has said they will put in a $20,000 bolivar note into circulation, it's like apparently it's like a unicorn. No one has actually seen one yet, right? So again, to me, the real story is that, and I haven't seen that in the news, right? Like articles like the Guardian, holding Venezuela and at least informing the world that governments are lying to you, and they're claiming that they will replace this note with a $20,000 bolivar, and if they're not actually following through, then that's the story, right? And that's the story we do not see, and apparently that's what's happening on the ground, which is why I did say that after people turn in these hundreds, they go to the ATM, they're expecting a $20,000 bill to come out, and hundreds come out again, which they now have less time to go and turn into the bank again. And now they look like criminals. Why would they have even more cash, right? So, but again, this is the problem with governments lying to you, which I think is the real story there that needs to be covered. Anyway, okay, so here's my story of the week. And this actually just happened today, and I'm going to share my screen again. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this or not. So this morning, or early this afternoon, I got on a Whale TeamSpeak for the first time, and I've never used that TeamSpeak software before. It's a program you download. It's for gamers. I'm not a gamer, but this is where they chat. And this came together earlier today because of, and maybe I can pull up my Twitter while that's loading. Anyway, so I jumped on TeamSpeak because just early today there was like a whole Twitter. It wasn't even that much of a tweet storm going on, but Ned Scott of Steemit said something pointing to the Steemit detractors like myself, and I replied making fun that they think they have a blockchain. So there was a little back and forth, and then one of the guys from Whale Club asked Ned to come on their TeamSpeak to kind of talk about it and explain. And then after Ned agreed, he then sent me the thing and said, hey, jump on. All right, so by the time I figured it out, I never even used the program before. I jumped on. I thought I came in after Ned and Dan, or just Ned. So I just started talking about Steem, and apparently I was the first one in. So then Ned and Dan of Steem had both jumped on, and this turned into a debate, which may or may not have been moderated. And they were together in the same room. They were using the speaker. I was using the software I wasn't very aware of. So the audio is probably absolutely terrible with people speaking over each other and very minimal moderation. Partially my fault because I've been on shows before, this show, Vortex's show, other hosts, so I kind of know when to speak, even though I speak way too much and interrupt. I understand that, but at least I know the platform. In this case, speaking with on that group chat, I didn't know any of them. I didn't know any of the voices. So it was very and I wasn't ready for a debate. I don't think they were ready for a debate. So this is like the worst debate in history. And I wasn't sure if I was even going to promote it, but I guess it happened and it's on the internet and it's not going to go away. So if you want to listen to the first ever public conversation, if you need Ned of Steemit and Dan of Steemit, along with some of the Whale Club guys, I mean, it's right here. Maybe Thomas will want to put it in the show notes. If not, I might tweet it out later. So I guess that's the story of the week. Oh man, I hate when this happens. Damn Firefox. So let me just quickly grab the tweet that kind of started it all. Oh God. All right, maybe it's here somewhere. Hold on, maybe I click on this and then. Anyway, I guess it doesn't really matter. All right, so anyway, you can look through my Twitter and we can look through
Sure to retweet that link as soon as Tone sends it out. Are you back, Tone?
Yeah, I guess I'm back. I guess my computer froze there a little bit. But yeah, so I guess that's my story of the week, only because happened this morning. I was totally unprepared for a debate. Not that I really need to be prepared for a debate, but I would have been ready with more comebacks. Problem with them is all the research I've done to scam bust Steemit on their white paper, and I know some of it was inaccurate because their white paper is like a blog post. There wasn't anything technical in it. And but all that work I did, I'm bringing up those examples, and all they're telling me, oh, that's not true anymore. We changed the economic model. It's not. It doesn't have hyperinflation anymore. It's not increasing at 100% a year. It's all these things, and I'm like, yeah, you just went in and changed it. Now, how are you going to champion that it's a blockchain if you can just go in and change the entire creation of the currency? So anyway, so I find arguing Steemit incredibly frustrating. 20 scams in one. And you sound like a crazy man because you're jumping from, part of the scam to part of the scam to part of the scam. So I'm never going to change my mind on this. I was interested in the first ever interaction on the internet between me and Steam It Scammers. There you go. It's there. I may put it on my blog. I may tweet it out. I mean, I'm not proud of went down. It could have definitely went down in a more professional way. But I don't act professional when it comes to Steam It. I just find that to be my in the space.
It was unfortunate the way the debate wasn't really organized or moderated. I would like to see a more thorough debate between you and the Steam It guys. Although they were incredibly excited to debate you, they seemed very ready.
Yeah, and I don't and don't blame the Whale Club guys for the quality of the debate, because this wasn't meant to be a debate at all. And it literally got put together in an hour, and no one expected it to be a debate until it just turned into one. This was totally unplanned, unprepared. So when you listen to this, like, don't blame them, because they did an amazing job with Roger Ver earlier this week when they had Roger on and Eric Lombroso as a core developer, and Alex Petrov from Bitfury, and what's his name? From Bitfinex, GPG, or PGP, sorry, I'm dyslexic today. Phil Potter on. So I thought that was amazingly moderated. And again, now I know how TeamSpeak works. So the next time I'm on it, I'll try not to speak over people, because I now understand it. So yeah, so that's kind of my story, personal story of the week. Maybe we can do a more formal one. And people have been reaching out to me to maybe do me versus Roger on the scaling, because neither one of us are very technical. Roger watches this, or someone reaches out to Roger, that would be great. And because neither one of us is technical, so we are coming from the same place, even though Roger is exponentially more famous than myself. So I mean, maybe he wants to do this with someone more important to the Bitcoin space than me.
I think this could be an interesting idea. Maybe we should set up kind of a debate series, something similar to what we did with you and Blake Miles when we talked about Steam It before. Maybe something on Sunday evening. So yeah, if Ned and Dan, if you guys are watching, if you're interested in debating Tone and just nothing, Whale Speak certainly did their best today, but in a more serious and prepared debate style, maybe we could work on that. And the same thing for Roger, if you're out there and you'd like to discuss scaling with Tone, we can guarantee that you'll get your chance to speak and you can put your opinions out there. More to add on this?
No.
All right. And I was also unprepared with the story of the week, but I've been keeping an eye on the chat, which has been mainly about beards and hair. But there's also a great quote in there from Gergis, and I'm going to go ahead and steal it, so full respect. He said, Vitalik is on CNBC wearing a cat t-shirt. So I wanted to make that my story of the week. Vitalik's cat t-shirt. Respect to Vitalik. Looks like he finally got a new shirt also. His hair looks great. Very awesome. Very jealous of anyone with hair.
This is what happens when you go on TV. You know, they have a green room and they make you look healthy. You know, they give your skin a little bit of color if it has no color and it's totally white and you look very unhealthy and you have lots of pimples on your face or whatever, then they'll cover that up and they'll style your hair for you.
I agree with Theo. I've met Vitalik in person. He looks nothing like this. They made him look fantastic. He looks great.
Can I comment on this? Because I saw a similar picture tweeted out by, I think, Whale Panda or somebody, and it didn't say co-founder of Ethereum. It said everything was like Ethereum Classic.
That's
was
Dark
that Photoshop
Dark
or
Pill.
was that real?
Yeah, it was That's Dark Pill's Photoshop, and it was
Dark
really,
Pill. I think it was one of those guys.
Yeah, really well made. And also, great. I want to remind everyone, because you did slip it, but it's easy to slip. That's Whale Pool, not Whale Club. Just so it says whalepool.io so people can find it so they don't get mixed up, because people get all mixed up and they go in circles. Whale Pool.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. When people are looking for it, Whale Pool is the one. Thanks everyone for watching. Thomas, do you have any final words to get us out of here?
I think that mainly just we're out of time. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.